So this is a question, obviously, that is important to know the answer to, because you will often get people coming at family and domestic violence leave from a different angle. The short answer is no, it will not apply to the perpetrator, and that is because of the requirement that the employee or a member of their household is experiencing family and domestic violence leave. So it's got to be an act against that person or an act against someone who qualifies as an immediate family or household to be considered for domestic violence, family or domestic leave. That being said, it is often the case that two people look at it very differently, or they're both the perpetrator and the victim. So in circumstances like that, the waters are muddied a little bit, but you may want to dig down a bit further in the evidence you require, which we'll talk about. You might not just take it on face value if they say that. You might say, well, I need some evidence from the police or some evidence to prove that, yes, you are suffering or experiencing that in order to access it. So again, case by case basis, and I wouldn't assume the role of making that interpretation as an employer. What you should do is say, do I have enough to satisfy me that it is? If I don't, then I'll ask for more evidence to support that.
Just, I guess, further to that, if the perpetrator did come to their employer and I guess say, hey, I've done something really bad last night, and I want to get some help for myself, would that then change that they could access it, or would it still be because they've been the one inflicting it versus the experiencing it?
Yeah, so I think that's the fine line of, if they come to you and say, we had a big fight, I punched her and he punched me and we both went at it, then that has to be determined, well, do they hold those dual roles of, one, being the perpetrator, but two, suffering it as well. So in a circumstance like that, I think they would have an argument, even though part of it is only them as experiencing it and part of them is them being accused of doing it. There could be some entitlement on both sides, but I think that would be rare. Mainly I would say, if they ask it, the first thing you ask for is evidence from the police officer if they were called, or the hospital if they were there, and you can get some sort of satisfaction as a reasonable person test. Would a reasonable person be satisfied that the employee is experiencing it? As I said, though, some employers are going above and just saying, listen, if you suffer anything or if you're part of that, I'll allow you to have it. So you can go above the minimum, but I think if they're just the perpetrator, they wouldn't be able to access it, the minimum entitlement, unless you, the employer, agreed.
Mm-hmm.